Hello, welcome to the Joel Fleischman Happy Hour, episode number 81. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Sponsored by Central Waters Brewery. We got the horse medicine here today. The Rift Indian Pale Ale. And I'm once again drinking Helles. As you guys know, if you listen a little bit, I do like that Helles, that lighter beer. That's called the Tamao River, which my son has trout fished on. How's the ale?
They make a great Indian Pale Ale, actually. Actually, Central Waters Brewery, you can't really go wrong with what they make there. If you get a chance to go to the brewery in Amherst, it's a wonderful location. The prices are better than any brewery down here in the Milwaukee area, so visit Amherst. But if you get a chance, they also have a really cool church downtown Milwaukee now with a brewery that you can go look at, and it's a pretty neat operation.
And we thank all of our sponsors of this fine podcast. All right, so today's podcast is all about the development leaders at Drexel. Who are they? What are the development leaders? Why do we have them? And what impact do they do for our team? And on a bigger scale for our builders and the builders' clients. So with me today, without further ado, we have Jim Ingman on my right, Boettcher on my left, and Ashley Mihm.
Yep.
Newer to us. I'm still used to her new name. And of course, once again, we've got Marcus here. What's up, Marcus?
How we doing?
Good. All right, little back bios. We'll go in reverse order. Jim's got a little Central Waters plug. We'll start with Ashley. Give me a little elevator speech, who you are, where you grew up, what you're doing here.
I grew up down in southeast Wisconsin, down in Silver Lake. Moved up this way because of my husband.
Silver Lake, like West Bend, Silver Lake?
No, south by Lake Geneva.
Oh, by Lake Geneva, yeah.
Kenosha County.
Ooh,
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Of the country.
Came up to West Bend because my husband's from the area. Yeah. What else?
You were a legal assistant for 10 years.
Yep. I was at a couple law firms before I started over at Washington County. Worked there for about 10 years. And then I was just looking for something different.
What did you do at Washington County?
A lot of different things. I started in civil and small claims, moved into probate for a little bit, spent a lot of time in the juvenile courts, clerking for the judges and stuff, and then I ended my time in the child support office.
So really a lot of legal aspect, just
Yep.
like your first non-legal career job.
Yeah, Yep, exactly.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Brock. And I said welcome because you've been here
A month.
A month,
5 weeks
awesome.
maybe, yeah.
Yep.
Brock.
Brock Boettcher, grew up in Hilbert, Wisconsin, small town Hilbert. Ended up in Fond du Lac playing basketball with Marcus at Marian University. Was Marian College when we started there.
You played there
Yes.
all 4 years
Nope. Played a couple years. I played the first 2 and then I stopped.
because you sucked or drinking
Oh!
no problem. Yes to all.
All of them.
Not yes to all. I definitely liked, I partied from time to time. It was not because of that. It's just, I just wasn't feeling it
Somewhat
anymore.
college burnout,
Yeah,
just like I'm good.
yeah. Like I am running so thin every second, like dedicated to school
Right.
this, school that, basketball. I was like, I just wanted to enjoy school a little bit.
The average fans at the Marion complex were 100.
Oh, come on now.
What are you playing from?
80.
300.
Yeah.
300?
350.
350.
Yeah. That gym was packed.
Primarily friends, family, girlfriends. In
Yeah.
that order, maybe.
That's when Concordia showed
I tell
up
you
to see
what,
if
I
they
got
were
dunked
leaving.
on once as a freshman, and that place erupted. It wasn't my shame that the place erupted, but it was pretty impressive.
The dunk or the crowd?
The crowd. They got
was-
loud, which was our own team rooting for the other people that dunked on me, but it was a blowout. It didn't
And
matter.
by loud, 300 people?
Yeah. I was just thinking in my head, scoreboard, dude, you guys are getting blown out. So whatever.
Wow.
But yeah, big city Hilbert, ended up in Fond du Lac, married a Fond du Lac woman, stuck there forever now. Maybe not a bad thing. Got 2 kids, Jack and Letty.
Shout out to them.
Yes, amazing children. And was in the car business for 15 years, all different roles. Started at, not including my 15 years, started when I was 16 years old detailing, all the way up through the ranks, and time for a change, couldn't be happier.
You like cars?
I love cars.
So what are you rolling with? Like, what do you roll with? You got a toy yet or not?
Yeah, I got 4 toys. So I got 3 S14s and an Eclipse that I bought when I was 17 years old.
3 S14s? What's an S14?
So I got 2 1995 Nissan 240SX S14s, so rear-wheel drive Japanese car.
Yeah, the ones that go zzz.
Yeah, I do the drifting thing, so I got like
Oh, you do drifting.
Yeah.
You got neon lights on those things?
one of them I do.
Yeah, of course. I knew it.
So yeah, everything from like 300 horsepower up to like 700 horsepower. I got
Where
3
do you
different
drift?
versions. Closest around here is Shawano. Otherwise, we'll travel anywhere from Michigan, Colorado,
Is that owned by the
Atlanta.
Holtzmans?
Yes.
Here in town, in
Yeah.
Camel Sport?
Yep.
Shout out to Bob and I'll get back to it.
Bob's my man.
She was a Johnson. Judy, Bob and Judy
Yeah.
Holtzman. Shout out
Bob
to
is great.
them. Funny guys, funny people, great people.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, welcome, Brock.
Thank you.
And you've been here how long?
Man, I'm coming up on my 120 at the end of this month.
Right, so we're at
3
5 weeks and 3 months.
We're doing good.
So the guy that invented the department,
Yep.
if you will, or brought it to Drexel, Jim Ingman. Jim.
Well, my background, I
This is
actually
gonna be-
I grew up.
this is
No,
gonna be a
quick.
peach. Take notes.
I grew up on Silver Lake in Irma, Wisconsin. That's the funny part of that, is there is a Silver Lake in every county in this state,
Yeah,
I think.
probably.
A mistake as a child, I would say, my parents would say. I was the 7th child. When I was 5, everybody, my 3 brothers and 3 sisters were all out of high school. Were gone. Right now, they all are retired. I'm one of the few left really working. They've retired or they picked up hobby jobs on the side. Coached 14 years. Got to see Marion get beat by Concordia multiple times when in our gym.
Coach what?
Coached college hockey.
Okay.
Division I, Division III. Great 14 years of doing it. But as people would say, you get burned out of that too. And it didn't get any easier dealing with parents, dealing with, and everyone's like, college must be awesome. You don't deal with parents. You actually deal with them, especially when they're paying $100,000 to go to school.
Expecting your child to play.
Yeah, you're expecting to play, and you're
Helicopter parents. I don't know when helicopter parents quit helicoptering. Like,
Never.
They don't.
Never.
Yeah.
It turns into grandparents helicoptering.
It's crazy.
And it doesn't help that at the private college level, they want you to carry bigger rosters than you can play. We carried a 28-person roster at Concordia. You get 18 skaters can dress and 2 goalies.
It's a moneymaker.
Yeah, it's a
It's
moneymaker.
a moneymaker. It's great. Come and play volleyball here,
Yep.
and not, but it's another $300,000.
And if you look at our D3 schools in state, not so much the public schools, they have added men's volleyball, dance competitions, the computer gaming competitions, all that's all to bring in money. Yeah.
All to carry on the dream.
So cool, and it would coincided leaving with my wife getting a great job, and just kind of started working back through where I all started at UW Stevens Point, of when I went there, of understanding the sciences between how a building works, but also brought in the relationship of being in the classroom, teaching on the ice, this and that, through one of our biggest clients, and then to here, which allowed me the access to not only more builders, but also more people that could actually continue to grow our industry, which, as we know, is so 20 years behind a typical one right now.
And you've been here how long?
3.5 years.
3.5 years. So I interviewed Jim 3.5 years ago. Knew he had the organization he was with. They just mutual agreement, whatever you want to call it. We'll just leave it at that. And good feelings and all that stuff. And then, I got hold of Jim, and I think Jim was taken back, like, what? I'm not working right at Drexel. And then I was like, and then a couple people are like, you're bringing Jim Ingman? What's he going to do? I'm like, dude, I have no idea. Right? So again, a good reminder for everybody. Like, if you just know a good person, bring him in, right?
Yeah.
So Jim came in the room, and I think we both looked at each other. So like, now what? And he's like, I don't know. Like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, I have no idea. What do you like to do? I think was my first question. He actually came here as the building scientist. Like, hey, just teach us, geek out on the technical side of it. Is that right?
Yep.
Which wasn't really defined at all. People a lot of times at Drexel want this job description, duties. We've been taught that since 2nd grade. I need to live in a box. And honestly, some people do need to live in a box. And we probably do have carved out roles here after 30 years, that an exterior specialist with siding and shingles, like we kind of know what that is. But there's a lot of roles here that aren't carved out. We're going through that with you guys.
Yep.
And you just kind of invent it as you go. There's just no catalog to look up development leaders, right? So how long have you been a development leader?
I remember it. A year and a half ago, you and
So this has only been for 18 months.
Caitlin came and said,
Crazy.
we've been trying for 5-6 years, multiple different people, to get this off the ground. With your background, do you want to run with it? And by the way, the pages are empty. We don't have a book on this, so just figure out what needs to be done. And actually, it was the 2 years prior to that was really saying, in my mind, we need something like this, just because, one, you need to be able to grow in your positions and anywhere you're at, but 2, it's that the industry doesn't have. Again, doing things that nobody else does.
Yep.
I look at the podcast room as something nobody else does in this and that, but I look at what we needed and what you two are here for, and I joked around the other day, I go, we added 2 more people, all that did was give more people ideas going, oh, I got 2 more resources to use, I want more and more development. And that is where you want to go, is you got to allow the people have resources to continue.
Well, I think part of it is it's such a gaping hole.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, taking a little step back, I'm old school to some degree or whatever, or again, maybe not even that smart, I'm not sure. But really, it was like, people were just screaming on our focus groups, feedback from our top workplace results of, hey, we need training at this company more than anything. Right? Kaylin and I would meet, and she's old school. I'm like, training? Train yourself. No one trained me. Like, how much training do you need? There's YouTube. You sit next to the person next to you. Like, duh. Light bulb go on. You just got to go get it.
That's the salesman in you.
Maybe, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever that is. Again, just a bad mentality, honestly, right?
Yep.
And again, we never ever want to be corporate, so that felt really corporate. And then we started this thing. And I'm like, the gaping hole, the gaps that I did not know existed of great people that just didn't know. And then further reading books and understanding our mission of supply and happiness, one of the key things for anyone to be happy, and it is so human nature, I want to master what I do. I want to be the master of what I do. Be it a hobby, but especially your career and your passion. And not giving the people and allowing them to be the master of their craft. What a horrible, sad thing when you really think about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to be a master. And if they are a master, what an impact they can be to that builder and to us and just to themselves, right? That they're literally working here for a few years and they're like, I'm good at this, man. I'm a master of this. But if you don't give them all of that, it's impossible to do.
So that hit you specifically through focus groups, or was it just as we continued to grow, where the numbers were getting to a point where you're like, we need this, or what was?
Was it a tipping point?
Yeah, where it was like, we got to do this.
Right. Justin Spuda, shout out to Justin, tried it, but we really had him as a HPD, like a human resource person. Wasn't actually, we didn't have a space for it, so some of it buying the space for it, which is weird. We really didn't. We didn't have a good vision for it. He had started that about 2 years ago because we knew we needed, like you said, like Jim said, we had 5 or 6 people that kind of dipped their toes in it. I don't think we were ready to fully commit to a full dollar amount. And yeah, I think I finally, Jim, I don't know if you remember the tipping point, but I think we had like one training session, maybe prior to Jim, or maybe Jim hosted one, if I remember correctly. And I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah.
Jim hosted one, and I just saw people's faces spark up and light up. And then I think at the exact same time I was reading a book, and I don't remember which one, talking about mastery as one of the sources for happiness in a person's soul and mind. And I'm like, that's it, right? Like, we are allowing people to master it, and also something that we can totally beat our competition on by a scale of 1 million, since they don't do any. Right? Our industry doesn't do any. I shouldn't even pick on our competition. So then we went for it. And Jim was kind of like building scientist, bumping around from project to project. Like, let's give Jim a real path. So I think all those combinations.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was actually right behind us. This wall wasn't here. This room was wide open. This was the training center. It was for leaders. It was a Wilver skill training with our leadership group. That's the first training we had, and it was like the leaders like, all of Drexel could use this. And then it was the spark of like, all right, if they need this, what else do they need?
And the list even then became endless within 5 minutes, right? Because you have the hard skills of how to do something, but then you have the soft skills behind it, then you have the why behind it. So let's get into that a little bit, right? So which roles, this podcast is a little bit of education too.
Yeah.
Tell me about what role you each play in development at this point and kind of what it means to you. Kind of speak like, what does that mean to you? Why do you think you're going to be uniquely good at your portal of that?
Want me to go first?
You guys.
Hospitality. So hospitality is my role or my version of the development. And just the last 15 years in sales, the reason it speaks to me so much and the reason I'm so excited for it is literally finding ways to build that relationship within seconds, to put a deal together and make something happen. Being able to give that confidence to every single person eventually throughout Drexel is huge.
What are some of the training things that'll be under your umbrella? if you
Yeah,
will?
so the QB trainings is one of the big ones.
Which will eventually be cabinetry training.
Yep.
And flooring training.
Yep.
And so I can,
Literally across the
yeah,
categories.
and I can't stop without helping you.
Yeah.
Because I'm so excited about this, right? So
Yeah.
quarterback training means once a month,
Right.
11 times a year, they come in for a full day sessions of just learning. Prior it was run up to them at their counter as they're super busy and be like, do you have 10 minutes? We're going to talk about this with a vendor.
Right.
No, I don't. I'm going to half listen, if that was at all. Or it'd be like an email bulletin, or it was just trial by fire,
Right.
or factory tours where we got drunk and, hoped it happened with like
Yeah.
a splattering of quarterbacks. So that's cool.
Yeah.
What else? Dale Carnegie,
Yes.
right? Because that's really hospitality,
Right.
Learning the soft skills. So what else?
Man, there's a whole bunch of, we actually had a handful of things on our list when we did our lanes and all that stuff. But yeah, a lot of it was just focused around how to explain like just anything sales team related or any customer facing, or now morphing into the hospitality task force.
Yeah, which again
and
goes
all
back
that
to
stuff as well.
we just had a really upset customer that really said we did a horrible job, and it was a builder on multiple jobs, and he was very, very upset. But he was willing to meet with us for an hour and chew our butt out, honestly, and actually had a presentation on it, exact quotes, exact situations. But he allowed us back in. So like that's a great one, right, for hospitality.
Yeah.
So black and white customer service, and I always use restaurants, as you guys all know.
Right.
Right, black and white customer service when your food is horrible. Hey, look, I never complain, but honestly, this was pretty bad. Manager shows up, says what? Hey, dinner's on us. We're a train wreck tonight because of X, Y, Z. Thanks for coming in. There's not going to be a bill. You get in your car. I expect that. That's black and white. In our industry, that would happen, right? What would Jim say? I'm sure he would say it. In our industry, what's going to happen? I'm going to get you a new salesman. I'm going to fix the immediate problems you have. I'm probably going to lowball the next job, which isn't my real price, but I'm going to lowball it. Maybe if I'm even a little better, probably tell you I lowball it. If I'm not even good, I'm not even going to tell you I lowball it, and try to earn it back through job by job, and make sure you're white gloving each job. That's pretty good. That's customer service with a smile, but it's not hospitality.
Right.
So the challenge is in that restaurant. How do you actually? And I don't have that answer. That's stuff to talk about or train on. Cues, listening. How do you actually win? How do you actually win that customer back at the restaurant?
Right.
How do you actually do it? Right? Like how do you this was bad. Dinner's on us. And this and this and this. So you actually turn it into a positive coming out, or eventually a positive. Same with the builder. How do you actually do that, right? And we're talking through that with that one. But that's really your arena, right?
Definitely.
So, and I think we got to make sure as we roll out hospitality that we're not taking this into glitter and sprinkles on ice cream,
Exactly.
right? Because I think you can say, well, let's just do sprinkles. That's really not hospitality. That's just glitter.
Just putting a show on.
Yep, putting a show on, lipstick on a pig, and the builders are going to read right through that, and it's going to come off totally disingenuine.
Yep.
Hospitality is totally genuine. So, challenges for you, super excited for you.
Yes. I'm hyped. Couldn't be any more excited for it.
It's like the quietest you've ever been. It's great. Ashley.
My focus is going to be on internal culture. So the shoe is a really big one. Just rolled out the new shoe
And
this
shoes
week.
what, just for those that may not know?
Supply Happiness University. So we just rolled out our
Quote
new
unquote onboarding process.
Yeah, onboarding, yep. Really excited about that. The whole new shoe we just rolled out this week has been going really well. It's also going to include like the Lion Award, and the book club and things like that, but then also...
Marcus is screaming Monday.com.
Yeah, Monday.com.
Right, so all internal trainings,
Yep.
Software, programs.
Yep, lots of process, procedure, our tacticals and strategics. I'm eventually going to become the savant on those.
So anything internal.
Yep, anything internal.
Right, which will be really, really cool, and I think your legal background will
Yeah.
help you dot I's, cross T's.
Yep.
Jim.
Oh, say, Ashley, the legal background is already a godsend to us because everything's documented like you can't believe.
I read a lot of notes.
If you want something documented, just invite Ashley along to it because you're going to see your whole conversation documented.
Yep.
It's
Well,
great.
and honestly,
I read a
before we go
lot.
out to Jim, that's a huge problem with training, right, and development. The challenge is, where I'm going with that is a huge problem, and always has been in our company, probably most companies, I'm guessing, probably most training, I'm guessing, is the second it's over,
Never
somebody starts next week.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody starts in 2 weeks. Somebody was on maternity leave. Somebody couldn't make it. They never, ever got that training. And it's probably one of the, if I had a list of 10 biggest mistakes I made, was not having things stick. Because I would do this rollout of whatever, right, Joel's new great idea, product launch, whatever it was. And everyone in that room is super engaged and fired up.
Oh, yeah.
But then 3 years later, I'm like, we do that, right? Like, we rolled that out. Like, no, that, what? Like, the new people wouldn't even know, right? So we have to, you guys, a huge challenge, takes tons of time, is document, have a website, Google Classroom. The next person, you're going through all this stuff that we've already done. Or refresher courses, right? We're so new to this. We've already done this. I just can pull it out and tweak it. I don't have to reinvent it, and we're going to go back to a refresher course. We haven't done this in 2 years.
Yep.
Both need to exist. Big time. That's a huge, huge obstacle. Very big challenge. I perceive that's going to be one of your biggest long-term challenges, making sure you grab all that. Do we have a good video thing in our training room? We have a good way to capture video? Like, just basically, why don't we recording all this and then just throwing that content up?
Yeah.
Why are you guys looking at me like I'm crazy?
I think
Because
the
the pandemic excuse has created the issue of not being able to record stuff because there's been a hole in the wall that's missing a screen for 20 months now.
You mean it's on back order?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
That's the building scientist for you guys. Like,
Yeah.
what,
I think,
Jim?
like,
No.
English.
I think like what you guys bring up though too,
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
we talk about within IT is obviously the documentation piece. And I think like what makes us so unique at Drexel is we're willing to change instantly, but it also makes the documentation thing that much harder, right? Like, not to say you can't do it, but you gotta be up on top of it
Constantly
because
changing.
instantly you change it and now it's out of date, right?
Yeah.
And so if you
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
update that, now it's like, now you can get that to people, but it's like maybe outdated now,
Yeah.
right?
And not only that, how do you delete the old versions?
That's what I was.
Right.
So all of a sudden you're like, version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 9A, right? You almost got to document it like version 8, right? When we're on version 12, chuck your version 8.
See, and I'm there, Marcus, but here's another whole problem. 50% of this industry and many industries, there's stuff being done every day that there is no documentation of what that person is doing because it's called institutional knowledge. In the construction industry, it's one of the worst industries for it. And I'll give you a great example working with the state, working with a gentleman who inspected the steel plants that actually put the bolts in the bridges that hold our bridges up. He came down with terminally ill cancer, and the state begged him for 2 years because there was not one piece of documentation of what he did and how he did it and what he went about to do it and what reports he think and what he looked for and this and that. Nobody knew. He had worked for the state for 55 years. He was 70 years old, a civil engineer that did this and got around plants. And in fact, it got to the point where they were so desperate that the companies that he would go inspect these steel mills along with the state provided the wheel-tracked wheelchairs for him because he couldn't walk real far, but they invested that kind of money in their facilities for him because nobody knew. Even they didn't know. The steel company of Ohio did not know what he was looking for and how he was doing it, this and that. How? This guy should be going and enjoying his life at this point, but there's no documentation of it. So how institutional knowledge at any company, especially even here, we got 5 salespeople who know more, they forgot more than they know right now. If that was, how do you document that stuff, what they do?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. Jim, your role.
I'm really happy with my role again. I was happy all the time, but it goes back to, I think, with a supply company of being the true specialist. You need to be very good at knowing your products and knowing why we carry what we do, why we don't carry something that's requested for, and really be that trusted advisor to the builder. So I will be our product knowledge guy and development guy. Mainly that'll be the most job with, and I just put building science into that because products have a science part of them behind them when you put them into a building of why they work and why they don't and what we do. And I'm in the first, back 3 weeks, seeing so many opportunities for us to be the best in the industry at not just being stagnant, but moving forward quicker by trying new things, doing things, this and that, or reassuring builders of why we're using what we do and why we carry what we do. I think a lot of supply companies get themselves in trouble. They just keep listening to builders that and that, or don't really preach about what they have. They just keep, yeah, we'll get that for you. Pretty soon we have 30, 40 SKUs, and you don't need that much. And that's where you bleed out of an industry where you can actually, hey, we're going to have these products. They're the best of the better, and that's what we're moving forward with, and this is why we carry these products. We're 3 variations. They're not bad. They're not the greatest. They're right in this mobile house, and they're going to make you a quality building. If you're using, you got a variety to use already that's working gold.
Well, if you don't master your product, at that point, what are you? A commodity, which means you're no different than anybody else. You have to be the master of your product and believe in what you're selling. And the only way to become that is either institutional knowledge that takes 35 years or training. Because there's no other way, right? Again, like Marcus said, what was a tipping point? Is those kind of realizations, right? Like, so I'm expecting you to sell this with like an hour of training, and then you YouTube it and back your into your sale. You go against people that do have institutional knowledge, or we can train you up and actually kick their ass, because their institutional knowledge is what they think they know for the last 20 years, which is probably not actually up to speed, because there are changes. Either there are micro changes in industry, there are changes.
And I think the variety is now with these 3 roles, you've created a process of how to do something, but also the hospitality side is, as a salesperson, you don't need to know every piece and dime of that product. You need to know enough to be able to sell this and that, but you need to also realize this is why we have a specialist, so when the builder or installer needs that technical data or that we have that resource to bring around and makes us look even greater. Hey, we have the salesperson, he knows enough to be really good with the product, but if we really run into the dot the I's, cross the T's need on a job site, we have the specialist to come in the role.
So let's get into that, right? I love this part probably the most of our development or our training. Not one of these 3 will actually train. I think you guys all geek up about that. Like, again, that was reading a lot of books and just thinking about it, and again, sports related. It's we do all peer-to-peer training, which we now call teachers, right? So you find the person that is the most passionate, potentially the most knowledgeable about that subject that we need to talk about. And shout out to Julie Freund and her team, right? So JD is the decorator's expert. It's getting him up there, shout out to JD. It's getting him out there talking to the team about decorators and what he knows. The trainers are developed, the 3 people here, the leaders, say, okay, JD, you're going to be on stage for half an hour here. What do you want to talk about? How are we going to coach you on that? How can I help you present? There's really, that old cliche, the best way to learn is to teach. And until I coached youth basketball for 10 years, I don't think I really got that. I'm not sure I even really got that at Drexel as much as coaching and training I've done for 30 years. It was coaching youth sports. I was like, God, why is my foot, how do I make that, how do I turn off the pivot foot? How does my jump shot got so much better? I always had a silky smooth jump shot, but, Marcus, don't laugh. But it really has gotten a lot better as a youth coach, because I literally teach kids how to shoot. So now when I shoot, it is spot on, right?
Yeah.
But you actually it makes your game, quote unquote, better. Public speaking is a wonderful skill. What a better way to do it in front of your peers.
Right.
Right. Even if you stumble and fall, what a better way to do it than talking in front of a bunch of builders. So what a great thing that we're doing at Drexel. I compliment you 3 for that. That's the way of the future. That's so cool. And another unintended positive consequence is the connection piece. Right. JD, there's no way all 100 quarterbacks or salespeople can know JD. But if he talks yearly to them about decorators, not Julie Freund, who really is the product leader, not Jack Breeze, shout out to him, who's the merchant. They're there. They're in the rooms. There's an awareness that the leaders are aware of this training and can help and guide JD if he stumbles and falls just a bit, or just more of an add-on piece, right, or stumbles. But those 100 people, after a couple of years, are like, you're the decorators guy, right? You're JD. That connection piece that's happening over there is super, super essential. So the building that you're in was the Camel Sport News office when I was growing up. That's where they printed and made the Camel Sport News. I would go over there when I was 23, 24, 25, 26. Local newspapers were a big deal. We had an ad in there. We had a full-page ad in there I believe every other week on the back page. Negotiated that deal, and we'd come up with quirky and strange ads. I'm sure you're not surprised by that. And we would twist somebody's other's ads and make it into our own, right? Not copy and steal everything without using copyrights. Did that for years and years. So walking in that room is always a wild ride. Not that we'd ever actually own it and use it for our training facility. Training 2.0 is coming along. That's going to be in our south building, the old Precision Metals. Saw Tom Robbie and a couple of the offsite guys there. Ringer's crew are working on that. That's going along really well too. So we'll have 2 rooms going real soon. Very developed. As you're listening or watching this, you can tell this is a very developing quickly and very, very important role at Drexel. Go ahead. You guys are good talkers. Add on to what I said, I guess.
Well, I was first of all debating in my head when we redid the training center. We found about 100 cans of steel beer cans in the wall of the Campbellsport News office, and I was trying to figure out, was there actually a door in the wall that someone could just sit there and just continue to feed cans down the wall they were in there and have fun with it? Since we're drinking a beer here, I'm like, oh, you could probably do that. Maybe they weren't really from the framing
before
crew.
that it was an auto body. Before that was an auto body shop.
Yep.
Before that it was a bank, and then in the basement there's a large safe.
We actually found 1942 gas slips at 11 cents a gallon. It was for gas on that corner. It was like downstairs, in that building. So
That safe in the basement the door is so heavy.
Yeah.
well,
It's the
that's where the
heaviest
ghost
thing.
lives. Just
Jim's ghost.
Jim has
my
a
ghost over
Also,
there.
when the apocalypse happens, I'll be joining you guys in the safe.
Yes, that's where we'll be. That's where we'll be.
That building probably got a tunnel right behind it somewhere.
Yeah.
With our pickled beans that are in the can, with our canned food. Canned peaches. Years and years of canned peaches.
Oh man.
So I guess build on to what I said. Like, what kind of resonated with you as I was talking? What geeks you guys out about this?
Biggest thing that gets me fired up, especially over my years coming from the car business, is just being able to build that excitement within the team members. Obviously, like you said, that made me think of it right away was when the first training and you saw everybody light up. What's really cool is when after somebody gets done with the training, like Adam Beck, shout out to Adam Beck, this last training session, he got up there and he talked and he presented, and afterwards I said, hey, that was really good. I was like, you made people laugh, you made people nod their heads, people were realizing things that they never knew. And he also gave them the power. He asked them questions, let them answer, and they knew what was happening. I just told him he did a great job, and he was smiling ear to ear, and you could tell that he was like, I got this. Like, you know, and it's that, you know, it's just that owning what you do and knowing that you're good at it.
He now felt like a master, right? He may have questioned his
1,000%.
worth, but now as a presenter, he's able to do that full circle. You know, I think car industry, you know, they fail in a lot of ways, in my opinion.
Totally.
But I think they do great training salesmen, right? I mean, I've heard stories of how they train salesmen.
Yeah. So they
At
do.
least they try.
Yeah, the product training beside knowing the vehicle,
Right.
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing, right?
But when it comes to
that's true. I mean, car, like they know their technical stuff.
Yep. When it comes to the actual craft of selling, it's kind of like, all right, you're either going to get it or you're not.
Right.
Go ahead, go say hi to that person.
I want
It's throw you out of the boat and let you swim.
Sink or swim.
I want to emphasize that because a little bit, I think, with our industry, we need to get. It was really easy for the last 6 years. Housing industry was at its best. People were coming and going. They were putting in orders no matter what.
Yep.
Now it's a little bit tougher, and we're going to see who can be creative and be the real salesman. And you're going to be there to teach them the techniques to become a salesman, because they all have the salesman moxie.
Right.
They didn't have to use it. They had to pick up a phone, put a computer in, but now they have to actually maybe use it. Well, I'm thinking about doing this. How can you get from thinking about doing this to actually doing it?
I actually want to go further with that, which kind of goes into hospitality. Not so much being a salesman and going to get new builders,
right?
How to actually be a wonderful project manager and being reactive and not proactive. I still think 90%, not in our company, 95% of the lumber salesmen are just reactive. They're half burned out, they're reactive, they're not actually proactive, bringing that builder unique ideas, bringing that small, medium-sized builder great ideas, new ways of doing things, reminding them when they forgot something to order, talking to them when a return went hot, or even helping them out. Hey, this was a return. It was a really large return. That's on us. I'm giving you full credit for it, even though a bunch of the material's damaged. Those sort of things is not happening, and I think we need to train people to a level that they're masters of their own empowerment.
Yep.
I'll use it. Yeah, I'll use and shout out this. Starting to shout out Nate Rucker up in Wrightstown, killing it with his builders. It's like So he calls me out of the blue. He goes, hey, you had the CEU week. A lot of my builders were there. He did a great job promoting it, but one of our builders wants to change now. He goes, and I think the biggest thing to help him would be just you to come up here and kind of talk through options. I'm like, well, I'm not going to tell him what to do, but I'm going to give him options and see what he does. What turned into a half hour turned into 2 hours and follow-up questions, and now it's going forward. And he's like, I couldn't have done this without Drexel. He goes, I couldn't have done this without Nate trying to help guide me, yourself here, and all the resources around him knowing it, because you can read it. He goes, but it's an awful big decision to make, to build a building different than I've ever done, and have the belief and have the trust and knowledge that it's actually not going to bite me in the butt when I get done with it. He goes, so he goes, I feel so good with us that we vetted it, we did things that I got to choose what I did, and that all the resources were there. And that's just one aspect of a salesman now, was being that advisor, being that project manager, and being really an extension of the builder's company, like actually representing the builder.
For me, it's more the relationship. It's not I'm your salesperson, you're the one buying. For me, it's everybody wants to buy something from their friend. It's building that relationship, keeping that relationship reoccurring. They're going to come back. Well, how are you going to constantly be there for them? It's the sending them the cards. It's the small things, the notes on their slips. Hey, I missed you today, but hey, thanks for stopping by again. It's the small things that they're like, wow, I have a relationship with this person, and that's when it grows. And then when they talk to the other people or any other builders or what have you, say, I got a guy, I got a gal at this place. You need to talk to this person.
And I love to hear Ashley's side, because she saw it at a whole different aspect. Yeah. In the courtroom, or in that of legal side of the person who's the ultimate salesperson versus the person who isn't, versus what happened to the same situation of just how they came in and approached the situation, this and that. I would have to believe you've seen like, all right, this is the same situation 10 times, and half the time it was real totally different than the other time. Because what were the differences?
The arguments and just how it's presented, and the facts, and what's brought before the...
Words matter, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're just saying it a different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I have a question for Marcus. Being a Monday.com IT guy, being our software guru on our task management software. What do you actually call it? It's not task management software.
Yeah, I mean, really, at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Yeah, right.
Task management, yep.
Right. So what does development mean for you?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're working on kind of like a 2.0. We get a small group together. I'm actually going to put some information out to the team on what we're kind of working with, as we've had a few tacticals. But we've realized with 2.0 is accountability. And again, what I think you said is we rolled this out, and we rolled it out about 2 years ago to everybody. But we've changed. We've hired how many brand new QBs? We've hired how many different inside specialists? And I've kind of done one-off trainings here or there to get people up to speed, but they never got the full training. And I've talked with Jim before, it's always changing, so it's tough. But it kind of needs to be a thing that, whether it's quarterly, twice a year, this group here, this group there, like there's something that needs to happen.
It's a refreshing.
Correct.
Regimented refreshing. And it's not regimented because we're bad cops, because we want mastery of our team.
Yep.
Right. And it can't be telephone take. Use it this way. Well, I know it's supposed to use it this way, but I use it this way. And all of a sudden there's these, I call it the cracked windshield effect, right? One person's impact just goes, boom. So yeah, I think there needs to be that routine, where training is a routine, like taking vacation. I'm at training today, and that's not, when we were at training, my dad would go nuts. Because he'd always be like, I know we need it, but not now, not today. And I think, again, so many small businesses suffer from that. I know we need it, but not in July. Well, sure the hell not in December. Well, not now. Well, why are they doing it today? That whole group, but what are we going to do? But you're falling further and further behind every day. Don't do it.
Well, I think it's an interesting conversation. Nick Whitty, last year, July. We can't be doing this in July. It's for Eric Beck, EB, and Fruit Stand. We're busy. We can't be doing this. To, hey, what do we have scheduled for July? Like actually a 1 year total flip going, we're big now. We have a lot going on. A lot of everyone, like you said, Monday.com 2 years ago. I bet there's 100 people that just didn't switch roles. 100 people in roles of specialists or quarterbacks here that in the last 2 years came into Monday.com, and it really has been up to the person whoever taught them how to do it, not any training.
But even if it's been the same person,
yeah.
Even if it's just a consistency factor, it's been the same person, they're just confused now how it works.
Yep.
Yeah. Or they even forgot, or they found a different way and never, at that point of training, they didn't use the 40% that they now need to use, and now they don't know how to use the 40%, and don't even know what questions to ask because they don't use that portion of it, whatever that all is, right?
Yep.
So I think we're at that time in the pod.
Yep, we're at actually 40 minutes around the dot.
Yeah, perfect. Rarely am I right on spot.
Say, yeah, it was like, where's the clock? I was like,
We were gonna have a
You
time
never
limit.
did your
I
famous
don't
number
know.
We have
81.
one.
Famous number 81.
Well, are you prepared for
we
81?
have a clock that we just.
I have my 80. I know my 81. I got my guy.
Yeah, he did his
I know my guy.
Go.
T.O. Terrell Owens.
Oh, Terrell Owens, of course.
Everybody
Very
knows
good.
Terrell Owens.
You do push-ups in the front yard or what?
Not me.
81 Packers? Philip Epps?
Desmond
Oh,
Howard.
Desmond Howard, of course, of course.
I couldn't believe it.
Has anybody worn it since?
Josiah DeGuara is wearing it right now.
Who is?
Josiah DeGuara.
Exactly.
Oh,
Ooh.
jeez Louise.
Exactly.
This guy.
Geronimo Allison, Andrew Corliss.
Wow.
It's one of those that, Desmond kind of left.
Oh, yeah, Geronimo
If
Allison.
you really go out from kick returning, though, even take him into account, all of them that have received haven't been much.
For those that were not around in '96, which is more people than I want to admit, right, that weren't able to watch the Packers Super Bowl in '96, the impact Desmond Howard made on already a very, very, very good team. I don't think we win that Super Bowl without Desmond.
No.
He made an unbelievable impact. I do remember, though, I was at one of his great games, maybe the NFC Championship game. I was at a lot of games that year, but I was very blessed. Now they don't tickets either. Actually, through Michaels Corporation, thank you, my roommate. Dad worked for Michaels, and he got tickets. So this wasn't like Joel spending all of his money on Packer tickets. Anyways, I'll never forget, just a weird sidebar. Totally regardless, he didn't. He got to the sidelines and no one gave him a high five.
None.
I pick up on
Zero.
that. You think that he's beloved? Look at his face, and Desmond. You've all seen him or heard of him, and nobody gathered around him. So I always take big cues. I always, when I go to a Packer game, I'm always probably watching the sidelines for those kind of interesting things. You know, who does the quarterback match up with? Who's he actually talking to? What are I love the body language of all things, but
I think there's a lot of
especially the highest level.
professionalism with that team. They all had that in their
Job-
mind.
I got a
that
job to
year,
do.
job to do. I think Desmond, if you look at the Super Bowl, the Patriots had just scored. They had just scored, and he basically took it to the house immediately. And at halftime, when he came back and took one at the half back to the house. I mean, you look at him; he holds both punt return and kick return records for the Super Bowl. You said the NFC Championship game. Like, they're not in the Super Bowl without him in the NFC Championship game. He carried, but I also think the team got to that point. But Brett Favre said it, and a couple other people said it. They're like, you come off the field, you sit down, you don't care. He goes, when Desmond walked out on the field, he goes, you got up off your seat and you walked to the sideline because he goes, you didn't know what was about to happen.
But he never did.
Right, yeah.
He didn't do that forever.
Yeah.
He didn't do that with the Raiders when he got picked. It was just
Lions after.
or the Lions after. It was a really interesting run he had where he was just locked in, or the scheme fit him perfectly, whatever that was.
Yeah.
Anyways, big giant Bill. Do you have something to add?
No, I'm hyped for it.
For Desmond.
The billboard
I'm
question.
ready.
Big giant billboard question. I guess Brock's going first.
I can go first.
I ask you one question. You got any billboard in the world? What is it and why?
So mine is happiness is a choice with a big period behind it.
Oh,
And-
really easy one, guys. You just
Yeah.
think about that when you saw a sign around Drexel?
No,
Yeah,
I've
it's on the side of the road.
lived that forever. And what's funny about it is I knew I was going to say it when it came up, and we were in Amherst today, and Terrian came walking out of the design area. I waited for a tour, and I go, Terrian, I said, how you doing, buddy? And he goes, wearing your smile like always, he said to me, and it's like, that's right. You know, and everybody's got tough times. Everybody's got stuff going on in their life. Everybody's got struggles. I get it. Life gets tough, but I don't care. Happiness is a choice.
You know, you got the unique mustache, which seems like you'd be a tattoo guy.
Yeah. I got it. I got a handful.
I think you should go
You just
around.
don't
You got a
see
handful,
it.
yeah. So what
I
about
get-
happiness is a choice tattoo?
I mean,
Oh, there
maybe
you
I
go.
should, maybe that's next. I was
think
gonna get
you
after
should,
my Drexel
yeah.
tattoo.
Right here.
No, it's both. We do it.
Yeah.
Like we
Both
pay for
arms,
every tattoo.
right here.
Are we doing that live on a
Say,
pod? Just-
live, right here.
So there's two
I got a
Drexel
guy
tattoos.
By the way, Holden does tattoos.
So there's
Yeah.
two Drexel tattoos in the world.
Okay.
You'd be the third that I know of. I mean, you do happiness as a choice, and then
Yep.
incorporate Drexel in that. I don't care if
Yep.
Drexel's that small.
Yep.
We pay for the tattoo, obviously.
Yep. Let's go.
I heard let's go.
Unless
I'm
it's
ready.
Holden's
I'm
free.
ready.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
we're
in.
in.
I'm in.
Holden was giving tattoos the other night out. He was going to all go down to his place. So
Well,
he's
that
actually
doesn't
tattoo
sound like a
man.
good idea. Shout out to Holden Surway.
Yeah.
Not a good idea.
Yeah.
for anybody in any way. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Great quote.
I think it's a great
Love
idea.
it. I do totally agree. Happiness is a choice. It's a mindset.
Yep.
It's a mindset.
Totally.
It's just how you wake up, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's even today, right? I was in a phenomenal mood based on the weather, and I said it to somebody. How weak of humans we are, right? How weak of humans we are that we need the weather to dictate our emotions. Also, I mean, prayers. If you're listening and watching, and you want to pray for somebody, I feel horrible for people that are depressed right now in spring. I'm sure a lot of people take their lives right now in spring because they know the world's happy, and they're still not, right? So I'm guessing that it's a very, very hard time for people that have to crawl out of bed in the morning and go see the sun get up and see guys like me and you whistling to get the mail. So it's probably not easy either.
Yeah.
It's probably not easy either. So anyways, thank you, Brock.
Of course.
Ashley.
I came across a quote actually the other day, and it was, if you have a chance to interact, you have a chance to make an impact. And I liked it for a couple of reasons, because I think kind of along what you were saying, happiness, you never know what anybody's going through, so you always have a chance to make an impact and brighten their day. And then in terms of like Drexel specifically, I would say the impact just our team members have had on me in the last 5 weeks has been awesome, and I'm happy to be a part of a team that gets to have an impact on a lot of our team members. So.
If you've listened to enough of my podcasts, as Marcus has, patiently sitting there, I'm a huge fan of Mother Teresa. And, you know, that reminds me, Mother Teresa, of just the way to change the world is in the smallest things. You know, people are like, oh my God, the world's going to hell. What can we do? It's so sad with the shootings or whatever, dozens of things you want to interact with that. What can I do, right? And I think they don't do anything because they don't think they can do anything because they're literally trying to change the world with some magic wand. And I do think exactly what you said, that impact can happen with a smile, a door opening, a genuine, you know, one thing, I don't know if we ever talked about that, you know, I think one of the things I try to do is ask people how they are and then ask them the second time. How are you, Marcus? Good. How are you? And I've had people immediately gush in tears. Immediately. Like they take a deep breath and the tears just stream. I'm like, let's go sit down and have a coffee. Right? Because how often do you actually ask a person the second time?
Yeah.
Like, how are you? Right? Because we're all so surface level in so many ways. So thank you. Jim, last words.
Mine probably isn't what anyone thinks. Mine is God. God has a plan. Believe in it. And I grew up with this. My dad was dealt a hand that nobody should ever be able to dealt, and what he had to go through. And he was at the point of his life.
Full closure, Jim's dad has a Medal of Honor. So very, very rare. He's Googleable.
My mother thought he was going to take his life, to be honest, way back in the day. And she was a saint, to be honest, with all of it. And she said, you know, my dad was a pro. Who wants to have anybody who's got one eye and one ear? And she goes, the blind man would really love to have one eye, and the deaf person would really have the one ear. And my dad, being a pretty smart individual, thought about that and goes, holy shit, you're right. He goes, he interviewed for a job the next day, took it, and ran with his life after that and did amazing things throughout. But I'm like, we get too wrapped up in what the future holds in the moment we're in and this and that, and going, there is an ultimate mission for us. And I'll be honest, up until we moved back here to West Bend, church was out of my life. My parents were taken from me at a young age. I look at my dad and he goes, it was amazing that he lived as long as he did. My mom, 2 weeks before our wedding, out of nowhere, I'm like, taken from us. And I'm like, I've been dealt this rough hands. And then I read that book. I was reading a book, and I pulled out the book that's quoted in my father's, and I started reading it and going, what the hell am I complaining about every day? My dad raised 7 kids, worked at a paper mill, changed people's life, took over, did all these wonderful things in life, all after what he was really known for, what he did. Never stopped. I go, and it's all because he had faith in God, and God has a plan. I started going to church again, and I go, church brought that up. Of like, hey, you have to believe in this. You have to trust in it. That things happen for a reason. And when you look at it that way, even in the darkest of days, you can see light at the end of the tunnel. We were talking about, you know, coaching and wish you knew now what you did when you were a player and all this and this and that. I go, if you really truly looked at your faith and really truly looked at what you did every day and looked at people around you and this, that, and tried to make every day that you're going to make a difference and make a mission, which is all about being a developmental leader is about, it's like God has a plan. Nobody in this table probably sat there and goes 25 years ago said, this is what I'm going to be doing today. But now that you're in this position, you're impacting 700 people here. Times it by 2, because that's the Mary that's at. How about times it by 4? How about times if they're part of Lions Club by 6, by 8, by 10, by 12? You're impacting hundreds of thousands of people in the position if you really truly believe in that every day. So when I had a billboard, God has a plan. Believe in it. If you believe in it, you'll be taken care of. That's my billboard.
Great job.
That's good.
Yeah, it was good. All three were very, very good. I mean, mine, I'll add on that, like I always seem to add on the billboards, is I think I say it multiple times every day. I'm a very passionate, driven person, and I have to back up every multiple times a day. God's will, not mine. Your will, God. Right? I want to go this way, and I'm being called this way. Sometimes it's even getting stretched thin by being on a committee or helping a group out, and I just am like, God, please, no, do not. I'll pray, no, God, like, take that from me. I do not want to help out that organization. I have no, and yeah, God's will, not ours, right? In a lot of different things, and one of my biggest weaknesses is contentment. I'm never content in anything. And I bless people that are just perfectly content with whatever they're doing, and I wish I was, and I'm not. I know I won't be. I know there'll always be a weakness, but the more I can say God has a plan, Joel, just go with it. But then I'm always like, yeah, God's plan is for me to go. Easy to trick myself into that.
Yes, I don't have time for this, and then that message comes like, it's important.
Yep.
It's going to impact some people. It's going to do something different. And when you start getting that servant mindset of doing things, and just it becomes, you find a how to do it, not an excuse of why you can't. And
Well,
it's
the
crazy.
busiest people are always the first one to volunteer, right? Why is that? Right? Crazy. So anyways, thank you all for coming on. What a growing department at Drexel. Marcus, I feel like you're hanging on something yet.
No, this is
No?
good. This is good. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
He's gonna shed a tear.
I am just so excited to have you three on. So excited to have you guys in the organization. So excited to have you on in 5 years.
Yes.
The impact we've made in 18 months. Let this little baby seed grow roots. And again, for you guys, grow the roots. Don't chase how many trainings you can have. Grow the roots. Make sure everyone's impactful. Make everyone's good. And that will grow and grow and grow and impact hundreds of thousands of people. So I'm so happy, so impressed. That's the conclusion. God bless everybody. Episode 81 in the books. Peace. Out.